Thanks. I'd like to start by thanking the conference organisers for inviting me to speak as part of this symposium, and I'd also like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land that we're meeting on this afternoon, the people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to their elders, both past and present, and also any elders that we might have here today. As has been mentioned, my name's Nicholas Parkhill. I'm the CEO of ACON, what was formerly known as the AIDS Council of New South Wales, and ACON specialises in health promotion, if you like, in HIV, but more broadly in lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and intersex health. ACON has its base in Sydney, but we have a regional presence across the state of New South Wales. New South Wales is the state to the north of Victoria, and to give our international guests some context, it's bigger than Pakistan, it's bigger than the state of Texas in the US, and it's 4 times as big as the UK. We've been involved in the fight against HIV for over 30 years, and I know as I stand here today, a sense of renewal and optimism about what we can do to end HIV has certainly been permeating the response to HIV in New South Wales, and has reinvigorated our approach. By way of background, I'll speak to the policy environment that we work within. I think, as our previous speakers have mentioned, policy leadership and political leadership is crucial in the fight to end HIV, and I do believe that the New South Wales government has shown extraordinarily strong leadership. On the 1st of December 2012, the New South Wales Government released the New South Wales HIV Strategy, a new era, and it has an overall goal of the virtual elimination of HIV by 2020. 8 targets have been set to help us achieve that, and a key target is an 80% reduction in HIV transmission among gay and homosexually active men by 2020. To sit alongside this document, ACON has developed a specific action plan to back up these targets, and that plan very much focuses on the need for improved responses, particularly for young gay men, and we need to mobilise young gay men in the delivery of that ambitious vision. Our plan offers a mix of actions that we think have been fundamental to the HIV response for many years. For example, condom reinforcement, but it also picks up on new strategies that account for contemporary gay life, technologies, social environments that are very much relevant to gay men and young gay men today. A key action to the strategy is, of course, increasing HIV testing rates. The New South Wales context. Until recently, New South Wales experienced a decade of relative stability in our HIV notifications. In our context, gay men and other homosexually active men account for the largest at-risk population group, if you like, making up between about 70 to 85% of cases annually. In recent years, there's been an increase in notifications, particularly amongst gay men, which is tending to mirror trends seen in other comparable jurisdictions across both Australia and also internationally. This symposium very much focuses on the critical role of young people who are experiencing HIV differently to previous generations, but also experience it differently to older gay men, if you like. The average age of new infections in New South Wales has been in the mid to high 30s for some time. However, in recent years, there has been a slow but steady increase in the proportion of cases occurring in people in their 20s. People under 30 years of age now make up 1 in 3, or 30% of new diagnoses in 2013. ACON has long recognised that young gay men and other homosexually active men are a critically important group in relation to HIV prevention. We have a very strong history of working with young gay men in a number of ways. In the area of peer education, ACON's Fun and Esteem workshops have been running for over 25 years, and it's estimated that well over 10,000 gay men have engaged with this peer education workshop format. In the slides here, you can see the very original handwritten advertisement from 1988, and I'd just like to acknowledge the work of Geoffrey Fish for this work. Geoffrey's no longer with us, but he was much loved, an amazing staff member of ACON that was really the inspiration for the establishment of the Fun and Esteem program. And made a very valuable contribution to the HIV response in Australia more broadly. Our Fun and Esteem programs or workshops are led by trained volunteers and give young gay men an opportunity to gain relevant, contextualised HIV and sexual health information. Our workshop promotion and education and materials have come a long way, of course, since 1988. Social media and targeted online marketing has been increasing in our focus. This new form of engagement complements ACON's outreach work in venues, at parties and in other physical spaces such as community events where young gay men socialise, play and are sexually active. In recent times, ACON has been investing in far more sophisticated and comprehensive online engagement strategies for health promotion messaging. This approach is paying dividends when it comes to our engagement with younger gay men. However, while using new technology is great, we knew that to pursue really ambitious targets, single-stream efforts would not be good enough. The challenge is obvious. With bold targets, such as what we've been presented with, we were emboldened also by the evidence. We knew we needed to go business beyond usual. The approach we took was to review our work to retain the core of what has worked today, but to supplement this with new approaches. We embarked on longer-term communication strategies using vehicles and channels to engage the community in a conversation and to ultimately build belief to create a new movement, that in fact we needed to re-enlist gay men and younger gay men with the absolute belief that we can end HIV and that we are now in a contemporary context where those new tools are very much coming online, certainly coming online in different degrees, in different jurisdictions, but certainly that is where the science is certainly heading, and we needed to engage with the community in that belief. In February 2013, we launched our biggest ever community engagement platform, Ending HIV. You may have seen this message in the equation around Melbourne and the conference. We've worked in partnership with our sister organisations here in Victoria and other states to run the Ending HIV message. The central element to this communication efforts are the three pillars of a successful HIV response: staying safe, frequent testing and early treatment. I want to take a brief moment to walk you through this, as while the messaging is deceptively simple, what is less obvious is how we call what we call the equation and how that reflects the current state of evidence. Firstly, we launched this campaign as an overarching message, that was ending HIV. We then began by taking a step-by-step approach in our conversation with young gay men about each of the elements and the new science and services that sit alongside those elements. Test More, the first component of the equation, is based on scientific modelling with new messages around how often gay men need to test, the need for these guys to know their status and for them to be able to know their status so they can reduce onward transmission. Secondly, Treat Early focused on new research looking at the public health benefits of treatment and reduce viral load on transmission. However, we wouldn't be advocating for early treatment if we didn't believe that there were personal health benefits, which needs to remain central to the decision to treat. We acknowledge that there's an ongoing debate about what exactly constitutes early, and this still gets debated in the Australian context. And finally, the third pillar, Stay Safe, which of course means maintaining the strong culture of safe sex through condom use, but also engaging with subpopulations of gay men about other risk reduction strategies that they might be employing, such as undetectable viral load and the targeting rollout of PrEP when it does become available within the Australian context. Of course, naming the campaign Ending HIV was not a decision that we took lightly. We did so because we believe it is possible to reduce transmission in gay men by 80% by 2020. We did it also because we're confident that gay men, including young gay men, want to engage in a more complex and a more evidence-based discussion about HIV. Community mobilisation is key to achieving the changes in safe behaviour, testing and treatment required to achieve our goal. Young people are essential and integral combination of that component of that mobilisation. Developing ways to effectively work within our communities requires a deep understanding of the sexual cultures of gay men and a willingness to engage in those cultures in open and positive ways. This is difficult for governments to do, and this is the value that community-based organisations have always delivered in the Australian context. We believe in the cause of ending HIV, and through the work that we have done, we can demonstrate that it is also a cause that young gay men are highly invested in. Bold targets are being translated into actions, but discussions that undervalues the attitudes of young gay men, I think, pose a risk to the buy-in from this vitally important group. Young gay men are engaged in HIV prevention as much as they were 30 years ago, and to get to zero we need to continue to engage them and the valuable contribution that they have made over the last 30 years. If we fail to do this, we'll fail to defeat if we fail to do this, defeating the virus is going to remain an elusive pipe dream. Briefly on the social media and online activity. So how have we gone when it comes to talking to young gay men in social media platforms? I just want to give you a few headline figures from our social media and online work that I think demonstrates young gay men are engaging. The Ending HIV campaign has a major online component, and we have over 12,000 Facebook fans. 32% of those are young men aged between 18 and 25 years old. 40% of the total reach of the campaign, so that is other campaign activity outside social media, 40% of the reach of that campaign is to young gay men. That equates to about 35,000 people. In addition to the social media aspect, the Ending HIV website has had over 110,000 visits, with approximately 23% of those being between the ages of 18 and 25. In a recent campaign focusing on the test more component of the equation, recall from guys under the age of 30 was an impressive 81.5%. These are fantastic results and provided evidence that the appetite for young gay men to continuing to engage in HIV content. We're also focusing on providing more increasingly complex HIV prevention messaging to meet the needs of the populations that we work with. Our starting point was to acknowledge and work with the existing social settings of young men, which are increasingly less focused on traditional gay venues such as bars and clubs and sex on premises venues. Developing successful online campaigns and with a social media focus, while they work, they can't work in isolation, and they need to be backed up by other activities such as outreach, peer education, and other forms of advertising. Face-to-face peer education, a physical presence, and face-to-face engagement cannot be undervalued. There is not one approach that is going to work. A comprehensive approach with a wraparound nature that really speaks directly to young gay men, that is being led by gay men, is critical for buy-in and momentum. Before I finish, I just really wanted to mention the involvement of young people. As you can tell, I'm not a young person, but many of the people that work on this particular campaign are young people, so I do want to acknowledge their leadership in this. Youth leadership is critical in terms of getting to zero. I think youth leadership can present challenges for organisations working in HIV. Funding is just tight, increasingly performance is measured, and developing leadership really means giving young people the space to express themselves, learn by doing, and sometimes failing. It can be done, and we believe it's best done when balanced in guidance from mentors, particularly those that hold current leaderships within community organisations or the HIV response. At ACON, we do our best to give the highest possible skill base to our volunteers and to our staff. Many volunteers who have gone on to become staff members at ACON or leaders within the HIV sector or the gay community more broadly. We recognise that giving a range of skills and knowledge and attempting to facilitate this through partnerships with other organisations and research institutions is always also critical. Tomorrow's leaders are amongst us today, and we need them as passionate and as skilled as those leaders that we had in the 80s and 90s to get us where we are now. And I do believe that the panel that we have here absolutely represents that. So thank you for your time, and thank you to those people at ACON who have helped pull this presentation together and indeed done this work. Thanks.